Okay.
Are you all set? You ready? You have water, tea,
Water.
Amazon packages has already been delivered.
My peppermint oil.
I have peppermint and eucalyptus right next to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I put them on my lips. It's so good.
I like it. Okay,
Okay.
everybody settle down. Not the least of which is me. Lola, great to see you. And you are one of the reasons why I changed the format of my podcast so I can get you back on as a guest and have a different way to speak to you. So I appreciate you jumping back on with me.
Oh, Gary, it's so good to be here. Thanks so much. I love
Thank,
it.
thank you. So the 8 questions, I call them the Gr8 8. That's kind of, a bit over the top, but I like it. So first question, what is the best coaching advice you've ever gotten?
I had so many advices and so let me think for a second. So what is the best coaching advice? I guess the best coaching advice is to learn about yourself because I think as you learn about yourself more, you start to realize how you impacting the relationships that you have with other people. So the more you understand about what triggers you, what emotions you experiencing, what do you do in the moment of disconnection, you start to become more self-aware, number one, but you also recognize the patterns that you get stuck in and you co-create those patterns. So I think the best coaching advice that I got is to explore my emotional experiences and also to recognize the dance that I dance with other people and the music that plays in the background. Yeah,
That's
this
right.
it's always new. Go, sorry.
Dance and music are always big for you, if I recall. Wasn't something at your
Yes.
wedding with your father?
Oh, that's that's well, it was interesting that I love Argentine tango. And my father-in-law, used to be a really great dancer. And I remember dancing with him, not at the wedding, but at some event. And he suddenly stops at this in the middle of the dance floor. And this is like a no-no, you don't do that. But he stops and he says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm dancing." And he said, "No, you're not." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "No, you are in your head. You're not listening to the music." And he said, "Don't don't think about the next step. Tune into me, tune into the music and follow in the same music, in that same music. Just tune into me and I will show you where to go." And I think that's a great representation of what we do. And when we are interacting with other people, right, we are starting to say and think, what should I respond? Like, what is my next response? Instead of tuning into the people and say, like, I just want to be with you in that space. I want to hold that space for you. And that's hard. That's hard to do because our emotions get triggered and we get excited and we want to respond right away. As I'm learning more about myself, I'm becoming more patient, patient, and more, I would say, knowing it's okay for me just to be there instead of having a response or having a solution when people just recognizing, yeah, how difficult that is for you in that moment. I hear you. That makes sense.
So your best coaching advice may have happened on the dance floor with don't think about your next step, be in the moment. The next step is just going to happen. Just be present.
I like that, Gary. I like that a lot. That is a fantastic coaching response.
Well, you tied it all together. I was like, oh, that's good. You're going to like question number three, but I'm not going to jump because I tend to stay in order. What are you still trying to improve about your coaching today?
Mm. To slow down. This is also another thing, as you coach people, and I don't see myself as a coach, I see myself as probably a guide or maybe a trainer in a way that I train people on how to repair the relationships after they have a conflict, and how to talk about vulnerability in a way, in a more positive and more professional way. So as I coach people, as I guide them through this bonding conversation, as we call, I notice sometimes that I might not still quiet for a moment or for a longer moment to give them a chance to respond or give the answer. I have to slow things down. So what I do is I record my sessions sometimes if people allow me, and then I watch them back. Oh my gosh. I find that is so revealing to watch your sessions. You actually learn a lot from your sessions rather than from somebody else talking. It's like dancing and watching in the mirror, right? It's the same thing.
So, are there any other things you've learned in trying to slow down? So you record and you watch. That reinforces it. But is there anything that you've learned in the moment to remind yourself to take it easy or take it slow?
I think if I'm more attuned with what's happening for me in the moment, like if I have this urge to respond, I take a deep breath. I'm saying like, what is going on for me? What is the fear, right? Because the fear is always driving us to respond to people. And we want to be able to be helpful, or we want to feel valued. That's another, those are raw spots that we have when we don't, when we want to feel valued, we always want to prove to ourselves that we are valued. And when our relationships are not going well, that's the fear instilled in us. So as I continue to secure my relationships with my husband or with my children, with my parents, with my siblings, I noticed myself that I'm much more calm, so I can listen more. I'm not that rushed. I feel a lot more relaxed in that moment. So it always goes back to that relationship factor. The more secure relationships are, the more balanced you are, the more you can hold that space for others.
And you raised an interesting word of fear. We, I go fast, and sometimes I almost catch the question in my head before it gets out of my mouth, almost, like grabbing your hand, say, nope, don't ask that question. And then I try to just sit back in my chair again because I'm responding too quickly. But you raise that question of fear. Are we valuable enough? Should we ask a question here? Are we guiding? Is this valuable to the client? All of these things run through our mind. And a lot of times, instead of just allowing space, we jump in real quickly and slowing down. So, getting your arms around what fear you might have is very important in coaching, I feel. Not that it's what I feel, but
It
I
is. No, I think fear is a huge thing. And I think fear is big. And I would say it is that emotion that we are fearful to talk about in the moment. And I remember listening to Sue Johnson. She used to be my teacher on emotionally focused therapy. And she would talk about when people are fearful of talking about their emotions and what is really underneath. Underneath is that unacceptable, unknown fear. There's something happening for me. And it's usually because we are fearful of not being accepted, fear of rejection, fear of not being valued. And when we can actually articulate and slow it down, I think Lisa Bennett, she talks about making emotion as granular as possible. We get less overwhelmed and we feel more relaxed in that moment.
it's the same as when I prepare for something, then the fear is gone. My confidence just rises the more I prep for something.
Yeah.
But this is, understanding yourself. All right, you're going to like this question. What have you learned about yourself through coaching or through your career?
Well, I definitely learned about my raw spots a lot. I mean, because I had to prepare different tools as I do in my training on emotional connection. So I created a tool of the list of raw spots and emotions, or I created a tool of identifying your automatic thoughts and protective behaviors. And what is it that you need to feel safe and connected? Because I created all these tools, I had to actually practice them on myself. And the most, I think, the reconnection form that I created here, I'm going to show you. I don't, people not going to see it, but the reconnection form, it has boxes and it has like triggers and raw spots and emotions, and it has automatic thoughts and protective behaviors, and then the needs. Well, for me to see if it actually works, I had to do a lot of these reconnection forms myself with all of my family members and all of my colleagues and everybody who is open to do this. And you learn so much about yourself in that moment. So I really got clear on my raw spots. Like number two is not being valued or appreciated for the work skills or performance that I do. That's my key raw spot. Or number one, being excluded or rejected. I'm a pursuer in my attachment style in my relationships. So being excluded is like pressing a panic button right on my amygdala. It says, oh my God, I'm being excluded. I'm going to go into panic right now. I'm going to die, right? Because I don't have the connection. So I learned a lot about my raw spots and emotions, what I feel in the moment when I get disconnected. So I can actually be more clear on the message. And in my communication with others, I can say like, ouch, my raw spot that got, just got hit. It's not their fault. They didn't know that, but they impact me. They still impact me. So that has been very revealing for me.
So your book is called Emotional Connection. What came first? Did the book come
Yes.
first or the research? It's like, hey, I got to write a book on this.
No, the research came first. The research and my training, I started to do the training certification for people to learn about emotional connection. And I also my work with my teams, the teams that were having conflict, and I was using this process of reconnection to create to repair the relationship. And then I said, well, I have this amazing case study of a team, why don't I put it in the book? Because then it makes sense. So in the book we wrote with my colleague Ramin Sedahi, we talked about attachment signs, we talk about emotions, we talk about this team, and we take them through the process, which all fits on how impactful we are and our relationships are so important to us.
Excellent. Next question. And this doesn't have to be relate to coaching per se. It can relate to any type of training that you've done. What's the most outrageous thing you've done, tried, or said in working with other people?
Well, I think the most outrageous thing is to actually lead them through these bonding conversations because it's risky, right? That the person can share the experience with you and the other person can share the experience with you. But the most important part is how do we lead them through having that conversation with each other? Right? This is a risky part because the person might say, no, I don't want to tell them. I can tell you, but I'm not going to tell that person who is right next to me. And they have, even if they heard every word I just said, I don't want to risk turning toward them and share my vulnerability with them. That is very scary for coaches or for trainers to do. So I had to trust the process to know that the most important thing they want is connection with each other. They don't want to have connection with me as a coach or as a trainer. They want to have connection with each other when they work together. So as I started to trust the process and actually lead them into these bonding conversation, I would ask them, how was it for you to share that? And they would say, it's hard. It's very hard, but it feels good. Those moments actually gave me a lot of confidence to say, I'm doing the right thing, even though it is scary.
When somebody was reluctant to connect with someone else, did you try anything? Did you have an experiment to get them out of their shell
Well,
a bit?
the reluctance is an interesting word. It's not, it's a fear of being rejected. right? So that because we are wired for connection. So I know through the attachment science is that there is a longing for connection, no matter what. If they're going to tell me, I don't want to be connected to this person, I don't care about this to have a relationship with that person, I know there's block. There's something blocking them. And what is the block? The block is the never again moment because they got hurt and they say to themselves, I will never put myself connected with this person because they have hurt me. So when we have a chance to unpack this block and really recognize and understand and validate those hurt feelings and emotions, then people will take those risks. I have worked with teams like I remember working with this board and two people on the board, they haven't talked to each other for 5 years. And can you imagine? I mean, Gary, to be on the same board and not being able to talk to each other. But when I did the repair session, it took some time. It took longer because there were so many hurt feelings. But eventually, their relationship became even stronger because they were able to repair and reconnect.
But it's that fear word again. And what I love that what you said was we're wired for connection. Individuals and humans were wired to connect with everybody. And I think that's where fundamentally where people are going, where I'm going with my career is just to recognize that I'm much better connecting with others than sitting in front of a computer trying to figure out something on my own. 100%. All
Yeah,
right, next.
absolutely. And especially, yeah, Gary, especially I want to say that especially when people depend on each other, like in a team environment, in a work environment, people long for that connection because the brain senses attachment, right? Because of the dependency. Now I'm dependent on you. So I want to be connected to you. So I know that you're not going to turn away from me. You're going to be there for me. You care about me. I matter to you. And you will continue to be supporting me and I will support you so we can continue to grow together. That is a key.
You may not know this, but you're semi-coaching me right now. I appreciate it. I'm getting free therapy because it's like as I listen to you, I was like,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, that makes so much sense. Okay, next question. What still makes you uncomfortable during a coaching session or training others?
I think what makes me uncomfortable is when I go higher up. So if I work with a team who is very intelligent, scientists like scientists or engineers or somebody who's like lawyers, they seem to intimidate me a little bit. But I know emotionally they're not there at that same level. So that gives me a little bit of a safety cushion. And I also think that once I show them the tools, the everything that I have created, that helps me to be on almost the same playing field as them. So what I do to fight my confidence is I get better. I get better with my explanations. I get better with my knowledge. I get better on the subject matter expert in terms of attachment science, emotions. So I can be more articulate when they talk and really demonstrate what I'm saying is I know what I'm saying and I know what I'm doing.
When that happens, do you notice you're slowing down in your mind to raise up your level and you're being more concise in your communication? What happens that you notice that the fear sets in or something uncomfortable sets in, and then you recognize, ooh, there's a bunch of lawyers. Boy, this is going to be trying. And then do you notice something physically in you that you recognize to help you slow down?
Absolutely. You know what? I get overwhelmed and then I can't find the right words. And I sound like I'm incompetent. I sound like blah, blah, blah. You can't really come up with the right word. You repeat yourself, you say a million times. Yeah, absolutely. I find that. And at the same time, I take a deep breath. I go back to my attachment and I say, you guys are so important to each other. Right? I can see how much you care about each other because you're right here. I go to my process of reassuring them and going to attachment lens so I can calm myself down and say, it's okay. This is important to me. These people are important to me and I care a lot.
I love it. You turn the focus to them instead of focusing on you and what you're feeling to the right to the right output and to the right end game because you are there for your clients. You are there for that team to help their connectedness. I love it. So that's a good one.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely.
Next question. What fear have you had to overcome?
Well, I think that's the fear. I mean, the podcast, for example, is another a great example. Starting my own podcast 2 years ago, the fear of having enough to said during the podcast was always a big deal for me. And I had to try out different things. I had the podcast with one person, then I had another person, and lately it's being with my daughter. And what I love about that is number one, we have these great conversations. Number two, she's so articulate. In fact, I get a little bit sometimes overwhelmed and stumped by what to say because I find myself, I just want to listen to her the rest of the podcast.
You
I
sit there
don't
and
really have
enjoying
to
your own
talk.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting there and enjoying the podcast. And I also like it because we talk about attachment and relationships. And I see that she's becoming much more knowledgeable in these attachment terms and emotional connection terminology and repairing and conflict resolution. All of these terms is becoming a lot more comfortable for her to show. So I see growth in myself, I see growth in her, and I see growth in our relationship because we have something in common that we're doing together.
I love it. And it's the apple probably doesn't fall too far from the tree now, does it?
Oh, well, she's a lot more articulate, definitely. She has a talent on marketing, I have to say, a
There we
lot.
go. There we go. Next question. How do you play or have fun inside of a coaching session or a training session?
Oh, it's it's the most amazing experience for me is to have these, especially with more than one person. I really like you, like I don't really like with one person because people grow in relationships with others. So when I have an opportunity to work with two, three, four, I just did a session with four people, and this is a team, and the fun part of it is getting into emotions. This is what play for me. As I was thinking about my whole um, professional life, I remember reading this book, The Eighth Habit by Franklin Covey. And he said there are three things you need to find your dream job that you play at work. And what is the first thing? The first thing is to know your talent. Know your talent. And we have many talents. I mean, I play, I dance, I sing, and I love being on stage. So that's the talent. The second question is who will pay for your talent? And I know nobody would pay for my singing or dancing because I'm not that good. But what I found is number three is what environment do you want to work in? Where do you find yourself best? And I had to ask that question several times. I remember listening to that book for 2 years, keep asking, what is my talent? Who will pay for my talent? What environment do I want to work in? And I had to sense what's going on with me if I work with this people or if I use this talent. And finally, when I found my love working with emotions, not being a therapist, because I don't like personal relationships, I don't like to deal with them, it's too complicated, but in team relationships, because this is where I struggled most of the time in my previous profession. I found that when I take people through that emotional connection process, I play, Gary. I play. I'm with them. I'm in the music with them. I'm dancing with them. And that is like flying to me. So I'm always so overjoyed when I have an opportunity to work with the team and take them through the process and teach them how to do that so they can do it on themselves. That is play for me.
It almost felt like you were jumping outside yourself or you became somebody different as you were describing it of you're in it with them and you're not you sitting from afar observing. You're actually inside of those emotions with the team and everything else, and just I just visually see you getting swept up at almost like a hurricane or a tornado, and you're in it and you just love everything about it.
Yes, I would say I would reframe it in care and love that they express themselves, express in that like I was just asking, when I do a session on Zoom, there are two people who are doing the reconnection process. I ask everybody to turn off their camera when they have this bonding conversation. And when I, ask them to come back, I ask them, how was it for you? And they all say, it was so touching for me. I just sense a lot of love and care on this team. And I wonder, people say, oh, virtually it's so hard for us to work. But it's not hard when you know this language, when you have this process, when you connect emotionally. It's like you sitting in the same room. Virtually, it's not a barrier for us. It's what we don't know. It's when we don't know how to emotionally be accessible, responsive, and engaged to each other, then we are getting stuck. So you're right. I'm in it with them.
And maybe hurricane was a bad example or tornado, but you're in that movement and motion. But to that point, when I go off camera and watch other people do work together, I love it. I feel voyeuristic, or I'm just watching. It's like, wow, I get to observe this because they don't know I'm there. They don't know what I'm doing. Because when you're there physically and two people are doing something, it's different. I almost think there might be an advantage to Zoom because you can't see anybody else or them not paying attention or staring at you intently while you're there having a one-on-one situation with someone else. So I think Zoom might be have its advantages in the group work that you do and that I sometimes get the pleasure of doing as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a kind of fun actually to experience it in the room. The room is different. You're right. I mean, there are you are focusing. There's human kind of like a presence you feel. So it's definitely a different experience than Zoom, but it can be as intensive as in person.
Totally agree. Okay, last kind of heavy question. How are you using AI in your coaching or training practice?
Oh my gosh, Gary, I think AI was the best thing that could happen to me personally. It reminds me of the times when the internet just came out. It's like moved us years ahead of time. The same thing with AI. AI helps me so much. Number one, it helps me to answer emails when I'm in a rush. The terminology of slowing things down, sometimes it's really hard for me. So when I write the email very quickly, I put it through AI and it softens it. It makes it more of a caring, it comes from a human side where I could be efficient, get to the point, and forget the human side. Even me, I teach this stuff and I still sometimes can go too fast. So that really helps me. Another thing that helps me is in my research or in my project. Like I'm writing another book. It's called Evolve, and it's how to grow your relationship capabilities. And so AI helped me to smooth out my chapters, to help me to move forward in my chapters and put the verbiage in the right place, how I want to communicate, but my words are not coming out because I don't have that talent. So it makes me feel more competent. It makes me feel more talented, and I think it trains me also to be more articulate, to be more grammatical, to really be more compassionate sometimes when I can't be. It has so many benefits. I just love it. I can't imagine living without it anymore.
It does take away from me personally exactly what you said. I just sent out a group email to a bunch of people I want to connect with, and I wrote it, here's what I want to convey. And then it wrote something for me. And then I tweaked it and I did this and did that. I was like, oh, that's so much better and it was so much quicker. But it got to the heart of what I wanted to communicate because I'm not a good writer. I'm more bullet point like, and I like to just get things out.
Yeah.
So a bullet point to my chat GPT is easy. Here are the things that I want to cover. Like make this sound better or make it more articulate. And I just, yeah, I'm right there with you in the fascination of it. And I found my clients are going and asking questions to ChatGPT about something. Hey, I'm struggling with this. What are your perspectives? And the client sent me something. I was like, this is pretty good. So yeah, it's going and it's even going to get better. It's probably as you're typing, it's going to start changing things for you. As you're doing it in real time, so you don't have to copy paste. Because in 6 months' time, copy paste will just seem so archaic, and now it'll just be like, hey, make this more like that, and you'll be able to just hit one button. So yeah, it's a coming, that's for sure.
Yes, and I like what you said. I hope it will be that way because copy paste is so annoying to me. I'm completely agreeing with you. So yes, and another thing I think it really helps to with your work because as a person who is growing your business you wear lots of different hats, so you can be a marketing, you can be a sales, you can be a trainer, you could be, so it helps you to get the work faster done, and you get so much more done than you used to before. So I'm again, and like weekly emails, when I do trainings I do weekly emails to help them, and it just makes everything so much more polished, and I like that.
Yep, and it helps everybody. 100% helps everybody. It helps you. It helps who you're
100%.
communicating with. There's just that sense of clearness, conciseness, and everything else. Okay, final fun type question. What's something about you that not many people know that you'd like to share? Could be interesting, could be fun, could be quirky, anything that you want.
I'm a very open person. I don't know. I don't know what people don't know about me. I love dancing. If I love dancing so much. I miss it so much. I think one thing maybe people don't know is I never want to stop working. Like I love what I do, and I want to come back to do more dancing, more Argentine tango. If I have a chance, I play the piano. So I don't know if I want to go back to the piano because it's a lot of work, but dancing for sure.
I did like when you answered that question, the eighth habit. Know your talents. What are people going to pay you for, and the environment that you work in that works. But you have a high sense of self-awareness because, hey, nobody's going to pay me for my singing or my dancing. So I got to figure out something. I love it, and it's a talent. At least I think so, but I can't get paid for it. You have a high sense of self-awareness in that particular space.
Oh,
So there you
thank you.
go.
You know what was interesting about that experience is that that's how I started my company 15 years ago when I was asking those questions. I said, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to have CEOs, ask for my opinion, and I'm going to give them my opinion. And I remember working with the companies, and for the 3 years I was really struggling because I would come, we would do behavioral work, we would do cognitive understanding, but it was not really something that I enjoyed. But as soon as I learned about emotions and emotional connection, hallelujah. I felt like I was now in my place. And I think this is what people have to continually have to learn about themselves, constantly reevaluate. And even on with my company, I had to redo my website, I don't know, 5 times. And I redo my booth, and I redo my catalog, and I redo my books all the time because you're evolving and you're growing. And that's the best part in life is when you continue to grow. I mean, who would not want to do that, Gary?
Come on. If if you're
Come
not
on.
growing or moving forward, you're kind of staying stagnant and you're staying still. It's like that's
Well,
no
you're not
fun.
dancing. Yeah, you're not dancing. If you're not growing, you're not dancing.
So you're talking to everybody that stands on the side of the dance floor and watches everybody else dance. Like, come on, get out here and dance. It's funner out here. Nobody's watching you. Don't
Exactly.
worry about it. Don't be so
Exactly. And emotion
self-conscious.
is the music, right? That's why when you get in tune with your emotions and you can become more emotionally connected with your relationships, you're dancing. You're on the dance floor.
Absolutely love it. Well, Lola, thank you so much for jumping back on this podcast with me. Love the conversation. Thanks for sharing and your openness.
Oh, thank you, Gary. It's such a lovely to be here. I hope you continue to do this. This is so much fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.